Hello again. As regular viewers will of course know, I do not like saying spiteful or malicious things about people, but I have been thinking lately about Boris Johnson, and it will take a superhuman effort of the will to avoid saying anything unpleasant about him. Nevertheless, I shall try. It may be because I'm growing old, but I cannot help but feel that the politicians we currently have are among the worst I can remember. Perhaps the worst. Take our Prime Minister. I do not mind at all that he's a shifty rogue from whom one would be reluctant to buy a second-hand car. Nor do I care that, like some yardy gangster, he seems to have baby mothers scattered across the length and breadth of the country. I feel bound to observe that I would not care to have such a man in my home unless I was able to search him when he left to make sure that he wasn't trying to make off with any of my belongings. It also, I suppose, rather goes without saying that I would not care to leave him alone with my wife in case he tried to seduce her. The fact that he's an inveterate liar is also nothing to me. What I do look for in a Prime Minister, though, is somebody who can run the country without bothering me too much or making a complete mess of everything he touches. And it is here that Johnson falls at the first fence, because he seems quite incapable of getting to grips with anything without screwing up, while simultaneously raising taxes and nationalising some industry or other, of course. If he was a socialist, one wouldn't mind so much. This would all be par for the course. Johnson, though, is allegedly a conservative, and this sort of thing is not at all what one hopes for in a conservative administration. People usually vote in the Conservatives because they hope for a small and unobtrusive state, low taxes, and a tough line on immigration and law and order. We seem to have none of those things since Boris Johnson and that shower in the cabinet took control a couple of years ago. The latest move by this awful government would be funny if it occurred as a plot device in an edgy political sitcom, like The Thick of It or Yes Minister. As I'm sure that viewers know, on Thursday 1,185 illegal immigrants crossed Britain's borders and landed on the Kent coast, the most ever to do so in a single day. This is a serious crisis. Meanwhile, in Poland, not a single illegal immigrant has so far managed to breach the border, and the line is holding steady there. For reasons at which we can only guess, the Prime Minister thought that instead of deploying extra forces to our own border to deter illegal immigrants, it would do better to send some British soldiers to Poland to help them keep out illegal immigrants to that country. This is one of those occasions when it is, I think, fair to say you couldn't make it up. I give a link in the description to this video to the news item covering the fact that we've been sending troops to Poland to help them out with their migrant crisis. The problem about Johnson is not, of course, just that he and Home Secretary Priti Patel can't get a grip on the crisis which is right on our doorstep. It's a pervasive failure of every aspect of government. We have a Chancellor who's busy stoking the fires, which will soon get inflation soaring, while at the same time hitting us with a bigger tax bill than any time since the end of the war. An Education Secretary who seems resigned to school pupils' examinations being mucked up for a third year. The list just goes on and on. I've been racking my brains and remembering every Prime Minister of the past whose performance I can recollect. Ted Heath was pretty hopeless, but his incompetence was not of this magnitude. Even Tony Blair seemed better able to grasp what he was up to. Can anybody suggest a worse Prime Minister than Johnson in the last century?